Hello everyone, I'm DonTheCrown, and today I want to bring you a quick guide for Wolcen. The reason I'm making this video is because I haven't really seen a lot of other content or build guides for this particular game, and it just got a recent update, so I just want to show you kind of what I've been working with. Pretty much just started playing and seeing what builds kind of worked for me, and we kind of landed on a spin to win Bladestorm build. Let me show you some combat here real quick. This is basically a fight where you go and kind of almost 1v1 an enemy. And so we're just going to go in, we're going to kind of chop them up real quick here, and yeah. This is basically what you do. Now you're pretty fast with this particular build, and I actually intentionally slowed my character down a little bit because we are going to take advantage of a couple of kind of OP things. Let's talk about these skills real quick. On the bar, so we're using Bladestorm. This skill is pretty good to level with. It does okay damage, but the thing I really noticed is that once you get this Unrelenting Strikes node, it becomes really, really good. Normally, without this Unfettered Determination node, this is like a click and you spin to that point type of ability, which is not really all that great. However, this Unrelenting Strikes causes like a little shockwave come out when you finish, and that shockwave hits stupid strong. So all you got to do is do these like short little spins, and the shockwave will just annihilate everything while you're leveling. And then eventually you can go and switch to unfettered, and you just hold the button down now and keep going. These other two nodes up here are basically helping me keep rage up, which is the resource you need in order to use the skill. And then we're using other stuff here just to increase the damage. I'm not sure this is the best particular setup for damage, but I know for sure for sustaining spinning, that is the best. At the very bottom of the screen down here, you'll see that you can pick different elements for your spin. Basically just want to lean into whichever one works best for you. So you can see here the average damage is about 12,000-ish, where it's a little bit less if it's physical, a little bit less if it's anything basically other than cold for me right now, because I have a weapon that does cold. The other important skills are Juggernaut. This is kind of like a shield. Sovereign Shout basically is a buff and it generates rage for us. Warpath gets us across the map extremely fast. And then Wings of Ishmir also helps out pretty big. A really important note here on Wings is that you're going to eventually want this node here, which allows you to spam the skill as opposed to using dodge rolls. It basically consumes the dodge roll stuff. So you can open up fights with this by generating lots of rage, and it also just blasts enemies into stun condition, and so you can just spin for free without having to worry about it. You might have mentioned, you might have noticed that I mentioned that Warpath helps you get around. Well, it helps you move very quickly, very quickly across the map, and this is very good for anytime you need to like charge very far. It's going to take you pretty far. On this particular map, it doesn't actually allow you to go super duper far. What about up here? Yeah, there we go. So that's kind of what we're working with there. Now, in terms of we'll talk about stats real quick. In terms of stats, I haven't really put a lot of points into agility, but I've definitely put a few points into agility. However, most of our points have been going into toughness and ferocity. Realistically, I could drop some of these agility points, and I probably should, but respecking is a little bit expensive for me right now. Next up, talking about the Gate of Fates. If you're not familiar with the system, basically you can spin these wheels around with these buttons over here. So these might be in different positions for you. However, I basically went through the soldier section, which is the red section of the center, and then I got all these points over here in Warmonger, which is another one of the red sections in the middle ring. And then you want to rush towards the Child of Fury section up here. And this node in particular is ridiculous because this makes it so that skills have a 100% rage cost when rage is above 750, but they deal double damage. And this node here also makes it so you regen rage as opposed to willpower, so this makes doing things easier. But this is broken because if you start spinning at above 750 rage, your spin will just do double damage the entire time. You could literally have 10 rage left and you're still getting advantage of this, which is fun. I basically just started murdering everything the second I got this node. It was really nice. Other things we're taking is this headhunter type of node where we kill stuff and get more buffs from that. I don't actually know if this is all that beneficial for me right now because I'm not doing material damage. So I might even spec out of this or change the element of my particular spin, maybe back to physical or something. Then we're going to go over here and get Branded Burst just for a little bit more survivability. But really, you can kind of like go a whole bunch of different ways on this tree. We have some Life Leech. We have a little bit of attack and cast speed over here. This Second Wind really helps save your life sometimes. Going and getting the Heat of Battle helps with the rage stuff. And we have most of the cost reduction nodes. So cost reduction, cost reduction, cost reduction, cost reduction. And then there is some cost reduction nodes over here as well that we probably should go pick up. Just helps spin more. We got crit multi over here. We have damage when enemies are kind of by themselves. We have this node, which basically is increasing the amount of all resist we have. I'm trying to stack all res right now to see if that can help me be more survivable, but I'm not really sure if that's working all that well. Last but not least, this node here, Disallowing Vessel, is also busted because this thing basically gives you this little counter here. And how it's supposed to work is as you move, you lose stacks, and as you stand still, you gain stacks. And each stack gives you negative 3% movement speed, but it gives you 3% damage. And also it's giving me more health regen and all resistances. Well, apparently, if you see as I'm walking, they're going down, right? They go down as I walk. However, as I spin, they do not go down. So, permanent 30% more damage, and you do move a little bit slower with this particular node. I've also been trying out doing static transferal. This basically just allows you to do some auto attacks and do more damage. It kind of has, I'm not sure if it's actually working for this particular build, and I'm not even sure that the attack speed from this node over here is helping out all that much. Last but not least, I'm probably going to go back into Blood Reaper eventually. This does require that you have less than 10% attack speed, which isn't noted anywhere on the node, but it's in the patch notes apparently. And yeah, let's go over gear real quick. So for weapon, you're basically going to want a weapon that has the most total damage possible. And this is pretty much almost always going to happen because you have a lot of flat damage on the weapon. This is just a random unique that I found on the ground, and it happens to do a heck of a lot of frost damage. So we went over to this little vendor, Xanifer Stark. We went to the second page and we rolled 2 offense 1 slots. Gems, basically, if they are going into an offense 1 slot, are going to give you more attack damage. A offense 2 gives you spell damage, and an offense 3 gives you like percentage stuff that's not really useful for the most part unless you're using a Genesis Stone. So you really want offense 1 sockets. And so that's really, really important. Now for boots, I'm using these Giga Move Speed boots. Pretty much just use move speed. And then for a lot of my other gear, I'm just like trying to like stack all resistance and stuff. But on your gloves and shoulders, you can get rage and willpower cost reduction and elemental damage. Now, if you're doing material damage, like so physical damage, you want to pick that up instead. But this is basically what I'm using right now. This shoulder, unfortunately, has occult damage, but has 21%, so that's pretty ridiculous. This one has elemental and will. Elemental and cost as well, so those are all pretty good. And then I have a whole bunch of other uniques I've just kind of found. We have like a random magic find belt, which is kind of useful. You notice that I've socketed in here frost damage. That is like a multiplier since we are spinning as frost. This ring over here triggers a skill. And one thing I've noticed that with any of the trigger a skill on hit items, it only will trigger once per spin. So both this and my hat, which trigger a skill. If I want to trigger the skill again, I have to stop spinning and then respin again, which is not necessarily the end of the world, as I can just stop spinning, Juggernaut, and then dodge and start spinning again. It's mostly fine. Necklace, pretty much just wearing it because it has movement speed. And this ring over here also has damage, health, and movement speed. And then our body armor is, I was just looking for anything that is of a heavy type. And the heavy type armor chest is giving me extra all res from one of my nodes. And this is also converting all of my passive dodge chance score into all res. I've noticed that with this particular chest, if you get flat dodge, it actually like totally breaks how much all res you have. So I'm looking to try to get that on some of my other pieces of gear. And we just have this other random hat. Really, if you had none of these uniques, you'd be totally fine. The build would work totally fine. Most of this is just like extra move speed and zoom. Hopefully this kind of helped. I'm not sure I'm going to make other Wolcen videos. Let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments below. And yeah, come by the stream. Peace.